It's Friday, April 6th, let's talk PlayStation. Alright, yes, we have quite the exciting news week to talk to you guys about, and you are very excited for me to give you my reaction to this first news story that we'll jump into right away. Spyro Reignited Trilogy was officially announced from Activision. Thank God we finally got an announcement, and yes, I got to see it finally, which is what I've been wanting to see for the past few weeks. But to rewind it real quick of how the past week played out, IGN had gotten a package, a mystery package of a little cool dragon egg, and it had the Twitter handle of that mysterious Twitter account that was clearly linked to Spyro the Dragon, and you could look at the registrar, and it goes back to Activision, and of course the address to this package led back to Activision. That was pretty much all good news, right? That was the first really super concrete details we got about the game, and that was earlier this week, right? Then a few days later, we get more leaks, we get the box art, we get Amazon listings, things like that. It's pretty much a done deal. We finally get the announcement, we get a trailer. Oh my god, it looks so good. So a couple interesting things to note. This is actually not Vicarious Visions, which was surprising to me. I thought they would just jump right into doing the Spyro remaster, but obviously it still looks good by its own accord. This is Toys for Bob, which is the developer that actually handled and took over the Spyro when it came to them doing Skylanders and all that, you know, ridiculous nonsense. So obviously you might be a little worried, but these guys are also taking care of the Crash Bandicoot Switch port as well. And, I mean, obviously, I think the footage speaks for itself. It looks quite good. What they're also saying is that they're trying to retain as many voice actors as possible from the original games. Spyro has two different voice actors specifically, but they're going with the guy that did it from Spyro 2 and You're the Dragon. And I hope they still retain most voices as they are attempting to do. I can't really fault them for not trying to get people that haven't performed in these games in, good lord, 20 years now, so... but yes, I'm ready. What's interesting is that why I wanted to see it so badly is because unlike the Crash Bandicoot remake, it kind of seemed, you know, Spyro seemed like the kind of place where, because the game was so much more vast, so much more open, and the environments were drastically varied, I'd say. Of course, a lot of it was like grass landscapes and things like that, but there's still so many things that they can dramatically redo and touch up and put a little bit of modern flair to it. And despite the fact that we didn't see that much from that trailer, it looks quite good. Anyway, you can expect it September 21st, and also interesting is that it was also announced with Xbox One, which a lot of people were also guessing that we might get a year exclusivity on PS4, but cool either way, right? So it's getting PS4, X1, September 21st. I'd have to imagine maybe 6 months, a year after, you can see a Switch port, a PC port, because I know people are certainly clamoring for a PC and Switch version as well. You'll just have to wait longer, unfortunately, but yes, I'm ready. I'm so pumped. And while we're speaking about September, I guess it's a good time to roll into the Spider-Man news story. Yes, we got a release date for Spider-Man PlayStation 4, which is great, right? So this game is going to be coming out September 7th, and we also see the box art for the game, and it looks nice. I'm actually thoroughly pleased with the box art for this game. Some people don't like it because they just think, oh, it looks too plain Jane. I don't know. I like that, right? Because obviously the Spider-Man himself, front and center, that's all cool, but I kind of like the just generic red background. It kind of makes him pop more. I would have expected him to have like a city skyline behind him or something like that and just make it look... that to me, that's generic. This, I don't know, for some reason I like this a lot better. But of course, box art is, you know, kind of a moo point really, because what we should be talking about also is that there's also a collector's edition announced for the game. Who didn't see this coming? If you're any multi-million-dollar produced video game being published from Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo or something, you probably have some sort of special edition. Nintendo doesn't do that many special editions. Anyway, it's you know, you get the game. There's a $80 digital deluxe bundle with all the digital crap, whatever. The $150 bundle, you're gonna get the steelbook, and you're gonna get a really cool statue. In fact, the statue that they show off is Spider-Man perched, but he's not perched on anything in the image I'm showing you, because apparently it's a little spoilery as to what he's going to really be perched on for the actual final statue. So they're not telling us what the final look of the statue is going to be. That's kind of being kept a secret. But we also got more gameplay for Spider-Man. That game's looking really good. So September is looking to be a pretty awesome month if you have a PlayStation 4. So another thing that we can touch on real quick, and we really should have talked about this last week, but it seems like this is happening now for most PS4 users, because I got this kind of right away. I've had this for like 2 weeks now. But anyway, the TV and video services section on the PS4 looks a little bit different probably if you haven't noticed. So previously, before, you'd hit down on the D-pad and it would bring you to, a selection of your apps, whether it was Amazon, Hulu, Netflix, and you jump into them from there, right? Now, obviously, if you hit it, it loads an entirely new page, kind of like the PlayStation Store, where it's not its own app, but it loads into an entirely new page of surfaced content, right? So you can get all your apps at the top, and then at the bottom you can see links to various different digital content from Sony's services, obviously, which they do offer, buying and renting movies and TV shows and things like that. I think that's why they've done this. Some people don't like it. Some people actually really enjoy it because it does put so much content front and center, and it actually seems to be faster for a lot of people. I know in my experience it seems about the same usually. I mean, back when it was the old way, for some reason those apps just wouldn't load, just like sometimes this doesn't load, so I'm kind of indifferent about it, but I can see why Sony did this because I think a lot of people don't realize, or maybe at the very least don't do it that often, but people don't just, like, that's the thing PlayStation Store offers, right? You can go and buy the latest movie, straight and stream it right from the PlayStation Store. A lot of people just don't do that. They load up an app from like Amazon or something and they do it from there. Sony clearly wants to sell you some of those goods as well. So doing it through their, displaying the content more front and center to you, I'm sure they're trying to encourage more sales that way. And for our final news story, yes, we have another PlayStation 5 story to discuss. Once again, take it with a grain of salt, rumor, this, that, and the other. As I've mentioned before, and I will mention again real quick, I said 2018 is probably going to be a pretty heavy year when it comes to the PS5 stuff because we are just getting closer and closer to the end of a console generation, and, well, the rumor mill churns pretty hard for this stuff when it comes to complete, total new hardware launches, and this is no different. I was pretty much anticipating this. Whether it's true or not, there's always some certain validity to every single thing that we can discuss. Anyway, this comes from, ironically enough, the website's called Semi-Accurate, which the reason why I'm even mentioning it is because it has, on record, apparently gotten some very, there's probable cause to believe that some information may possibly be accurate from them. However, what I've read about this story so far, I'm calling complete BS on a few points. But anyway, Semi-Accurate apparently has details on the PlayStation 5. Just with the main fact being they apparently have specs, they apparently know when the system is slated to release, and they apparently know that developers already have SDKs, software development kits, and they have received them just a few months ago, which wouldn't necessarily be entirely out of the norm. What they're saying for the release date is absurd right now, so we'll cover this right now, which is what makes me really kind of discredits the news story for me, but they're saying 2018, this year. No fucking way in hell, excuse my language. Obviously, 2018 makes no sense whatsoever. There's zero chance of that happening. We need months, upward to close to a year, of an announcement to tons of pre-release discussion, things, this and the other, until the system actually comes out. We also need Sony's developers to release their final PS4 games. This lineup does not make, not even close does that make any redeeming amount of sense whatsoever. The fact that it says that is, no, absolutely not. If we're talking what the article says in terms of specs, they're saying it's going to use AMD's Navi as base architecture. The CPU is custom Zen. Large amounts of dev kits apparently gone out, with them saying VR goodies baked in on the base level of the hardware. And what I would assume by that, or base level of the SDK kit, which I would assume means that the SDK is pretty much primed for a lot of VR stuff. And that's not surprising at all. We can certainly expect Sony to double down on VR in the next generation PlayStation because, well, that's what they've done with PlayStation 4 and PlayStation VR. That's what we always say when we talk about PlayStation VR. It's kind of Sony testing the waters, but not necessarily. They're not really testing it because they are full in on this hardware. They put a lot of money into R&D and actually releasing it. But it's still kind of a test version of the device purely because it's certainly the kind of place where a lot of developers need to find their way with it. You know what I mean? That's what we've always talked about, is that certain games are still figuring out proper locomotion settings, just different applications for it, and what makes a more compelling experience, what is more uncomfortable for people, this, that, and the other. It's so dynamically different, right? Every single VR experience can be so different from one another, which is actually what's great about VR. But PlayStation VR is certainly kind of a first-generation device in the sense that, okay, it's going to take some iterations to really get down and for us to really see some really great stuff. And what bodes very well about VR is that there's already a lot of really awesome stuff available for it. So going into the next generation of PlayStation 5 and having, you know, a lot of VR elements built right into the SDK that would ease developers into it, you know, that would be good. Of course, we got to be super vague about this, right? Because we don't have any idea whatsoever what's actually happening. But it's just the speculative point of it. And certainly I can believe that PlayStation 5 will be primed and ready to support another next-generation PlayStation VR device. And certainly the SDK will have a lot of tools and resources available to developers to offer that VR support. Of course, the actual final hardware, including, you know, what it's going to, you know, be in terms of buying a headset, if the headset comes out right away, or how much that's going to be, you know what I mean? Like, that's going to be a whole separate entire beast. There's no mention of backwards compatibility at all, which I know a lot of people are talking about. I am still... Now, here's the thing. After doing 5 years of YouTube, I know I've learned my lesson hard to not, like, be one of those guys that says, like, oh, absolutely it's going to happen when we don't have confirmation. I bit the bullet on that one when I said, oh, Titanfall 1's totally a timed exclusive, and I was dead wrong about that. That was me, you know, just... I'm not going to lie. I knew I was wrong about that, right? But that was me just confidently saying, oh, there's no way EA is going to, you know, sell out to a full third-party exclusive. Like, the game's probably got a year contract, which 99% of the time games do, and I was wrong. That's the 1% I was wrong. So I don't like to be super confident anymore. But I'm telling you guys, I am thoroughly convinced that Sony knows about this long-term, much like Microsoft did long-term. Don't forget, I definitely predicted the mid-cycle updates. I predicted this whole scale of what Sony and Microsoft are doing with these consoles, which is that they're both easy architectures. They, you know, the very fact that X1, X, and PS4 Pro exist tells you that they are primed to do this when a next generation of machines comes out. I fully expect PlayStation 5 to play PS4 games. It's just like, because they've set that baseline. The fact that we now have a situation where you can put a PS4 disc into a PS4 or a PS4 Pro, and the game recognizes what platform it's in, and it scales to that hardware, boom, you've got it right there. They've got the groundwork laid out. So I would be entirely shocked at this point if PlayStation 5 did not support backwards compatibility, but this article does not mention it whatsoever. And that's pretty much it. So we don't really know what else to go on based on this article, but these guys have leaked a number of things before that has been 100% correct. So we just have to play the waiting game, and we will definitely have more PS5 news stories for a very long time. So I'm just letting you know, it's going to keep happening. Those are just some of the news stories that I want to talk about with you guys this week. The two new videos that we uploaded was some VR gameplay. We just talked a lot about VR. Ping Pong is on the PlayStation Store, and I've looked at it and I was like, that's interesting. You know, I like real ping pong a lot, so let's do some virtual ping pong. That video is actually really funny. You might want to check that out. But you guys also said that you would be totally cool with more story videos that weren't related to PlayStation. I said I had some Nintendo news stories. That's our other video for this week, which is me talking about how this kid was way too confident and thought he could beat me at Mario Kart when I was at a furry convention. Which it's a story. You gotta watch it as to find out why I was even there. Which is also funny because I actually did go to that convention twice. Because I was with that girlfriend for 2 years, and her friends still want. Okay, I'm doing the video at this point. So go watch the video if you want to see what happened. And that's pretty much it. I will say, so what we're doing right now, it seems like a lot of you guys aren't super interested in some of the gameplay videos. So like the Remembering Motorstorm, the VR ping pong video didn't do that well. I'm just letting you know. So like if not many people want to watch that stuff, that's fine. I guess moving forward, I probably won't do many things like that anymore. I do have some of the stuff still pre-recorded because I had mentioned to you guys like last month before I started doing all these uploads that, oh, I got a bunch of videos that I'm working on, so that way I have some saved up, right, and I can keep up with the 2 uploads a week. But now I might run up a few of those uploads, so there's still a few other gameplays, like a few other Remembering videos that I did, and maybe we'll be done with those then. You guys have always said for the longest time, you know, I really enjoy this channel. I hope you get bigger, this, that, and the other. So I'm trying to find that place. I'm going to see if I can get the channel to move a little bit more forward. So if you guys aren't super interested in that content, we will move away from that stuff. But let me know what you do and don't like. We'll keep it a conversation, and thank you all so much for always being here. Also, I may move to one upload a week, possibly. The fact that, you know, I've been putting so much time into some of these videos, and they're not really doing all that well. It's kind of tough to keep justifying doing two, so we may drop down to one upload a week. And you can definitely always expect one at least on Monday. I'll let you know on Twitter or something if I skip a Wednesday upload, so follow me on Twitter at Mystic Ryan if you want to keep updated on that. But anyway, I'm running along, so I gotta end this thing quick. So thank you all for watching. That concludes this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. I'm Ryan Badecki. Thank you all so much for talking with me. I'll see you guys next Friday.